Welcome to the Robbie V show. It's going to be a great show tonight. So much to talk about. It's not even funny. So let's get right to it. Number one, this week was a good week for me. Wager wise. First off, I'll start with the MVPs. Why not? Real Madrid on last Friday, they came through for me. They won 1-0 with completely their backups. So shout out to Real Madrid. We're going international with the MVPs this week. Shout out to also Arsenal, Saka for his shot on goal. Dope of the day of the cough. And what's it called? What's his name? Oh, in Arsenal. Of course, they won. And of course, Manchester City, who destroyed those buffoons. I forget who they played, but it really doesn't matter. And also Inter Miami and Charlie Coyle. Thumbs up, guys. You made me some money, so I appreciate that. Charlie Coyle, Williams shout out. Local kid, local boy, that assist. I didn't think it was going to be an assist, honestly, when I saw it, but, hey, life surprises you sometimes. Now, dope of the days. Locally, the Bruins had an MVP performance on Saturday night. They played with confidence. They really played well. They were moving the puck, being physical, stopping the Leafs, and they were playing great. But as with all MVP awards, MVP can be won. It can be earned, and it can be taken away. Last Tuesday night's performance, or yesterday's performance, last Tuesday night, obviously was not good. It was awful. It was probably one of the more depressing Bruins performances I've ever seen. To play like that, coming off off such a great performance, number one, it was they could have sent the Leafs home, which I still can't believe they didn't. To come out that flat and to have no energy, and it didn't seem like the crowd really had any energy. It was just awful. Montgomery obviously looked pissed after the game, and he had every right to be. I have no idea where Pasta is. I had no idea where Marchand was. The team really didn't even wake up until the third period. I mean, you could even argue maybe midway through the second, but it was really just tragic. Where does the team go from here? I think this is probably going to air during the Bruins game. So, first off, I hope that they play. I hope they play better and wake up for tomorrow, Thursday night game. Obviously, I don't really get why that the Bruins make it so hard on themselves, especially after what they went through in 2013 in St. Louis. Florida's waiting in the wings right now. They're resting, which is unfortunate, and they're basically licking their chops. I mean, obviously they want the game to go they want the series to go 7 games, but Bruins basically need to take care of business on Thursday night, because I really don't want a game 7 on Saturday. I'm sure all the North End eateries and the bars don't either, because they just rather move on to the next round, just cash some checks and make some tip money off the people, because that's what it's all about. Well, at least for those people, it's all about the tips. So tip your local your North End bartenders and your other establishments where you watch the Bruins. Do a good thing. All right, let's talk about the Celtics. The Celtics, look, they did have a letdown against Miami, last Wednesday, but ever since then they've been taking care of business, including tonight, which they obliterated the Heat, which is great. It's good for the North End. Celtics, more tips for them in round two, and also good for the team. Take care of business very quickly, and obviously let Porzingis rest up. Now everyone's obviously talking about how long Porzingis is going to be out. My guess would be at least 2 weeks, probably three. I'm hoping that calf strain isn't, or whatever he's been diagnosed with. I mean, who really knows at this point? I'm hoping it's just minor and we can just get over this, but I don't really think it is. Um, I think the Celtics will be able to get through the second round okay without him, but they really need him back for the third. Of course, the the road was paved in gold for the C's, and then this Porzingis thing happened, but it hasn't hurt him yet. So hopefully they keep trucking along. Derek White's playing out of his mind. Really, just an MVP performances all around. He's just taking over games, hitting threes. I mean, he had like 5 in the first quarter, I think, tonight. He's really just playing out of his mind, and it's really weird to look at a stat sheet and see Jason Tatum didn't even take a shot, I believe, in the first quarter. This is recorded Wednesday for Game 5, but hey, good for Derek White. He's playing well. What? Dope of the day goes to the people beeping down 53. They need to freaking be better. Anyway, I think the Celtics, they're going to cruise right along, and I think they're going to be fine. Other dope of the days, basically another dope of the day is the Philadelphia 76ers fans. I just think that it's pretty ridiculous that during a playoff game that your whole stadium is being overrun by Knicks fans. And I understand the Knicks got a big, they got a huge fan base, Knicks Nation, whatever they call it. I know the Yankees call it Yankee Universe. I don't know if it's Knicks Nation or whatever the kids call it these days. But to get overrun in your own building that bad during a playoff game, supposedly like for the rabid Philadelphia 76ers fan base that they are, and Philly, sports fan that they claim they are, is pretty embarrassing. I mean, I didn't really expect on my Twitter feed to see a Barstool Sports tweet out a video of people leaving Wells Fargo yelling "fuck Embiid," which, I mean, I wouldn't freaking go up to those people and tell them to shut up. I mean, he'd be outnumbered by like 1,000 to 1. I don't really like those odds. It's not really what Robbie V's about. Getting into bad situations where you can get your head beat in, or worse, like a trip to hospitals in Philadelphia, which I'm not sure of their medical prowess, but it's not something I would really want to happen to me. Anyway, so, and I will give Philadelphia credit that, hey, they did win last night. Of course, they're coming back to Philly, which is great, so the 76ers are going to have some life. But then I find out that Philadelphia 76ers are giving 2,000 tickets away to keep the tickets away from freaking Knicks fans, which is even a more act of patheticness. So basically, from what I can gather, is that basically the stadium tomorrow night is going to be 50% Philly and 50% New York, even though the game is played at Philly. That's not really the actions of a rabid fan base. So Philadelphia 76ers fans, or Philly sports fans in general, you guys are dope of the day. I don't really know what to say. You guys knew the playoffs were coming. Good budgeting would have helped you, prepare for this, event that pretty much probably has happened every year since Joel Embiid's been in Philly. So I recommend I don't know, opening up maybe a 0% credit card to afford tickets, or just better budgeting. And that's what Robbie V is all about these days. Giving out good, honest awards. Also, MVP goes to that frat in North Carolina. Good job raising the American flag. People love it. Of course, they started a GoFundMe for them. It's already up to $250,000. It's going to be a hell of a rager. I guess Bill Ackman, of all people, donated to that. But she's a hedge fund manager, if you didn't know. So, yeah, it's interesting. All right. So, what else is going on? We're also going to talk about, the Red Sox, who, they're playing okay. They're not playing too bad these days. 17, I think they're 17-13, I believe. And they don't seem to be going quietly into the night, which is great. I mean, hey, more baseball, it's more relevant for us, and I'm happy about it. But we'll keep you abreast of the situation, for in future shows. It's also Kentucky Derby week this week. I haven't really been studying the picks. I will though. Maybe I'll put out a pick or two. If you really want to know like Kentucky Derby and who to pick, You should follow Mike Manansky on Twitter. It's an MVP move, and you should do it because, to be honest with you, I'm just gonna, I like the horses, but I haven't been following it much lately. So go to Mutt and subscribe to muttstack.com. Thumbs up. All right, so let's get to the moron of the month. But before we do that, we'll talk about the contenders and why they're the contenders. All right, so the first contender for moron of the month is the guy who basically was going to food banks even though he had a job, and then he bragged about it on social media. Then he lost that job. So that's our first contender for moron of the month. He's a solid contender, folks, but is he going to freaking get there? Is he going to win the award? Well, you got to keep watching. Jesus Christ. I'm not going to give it away in the beginning. Jesus. All right, second contender for moron of the month is Coleman. It's KMS Coleman or Jack Coleman, whatever you want to call him. All right, Coleman's contender because, number one, he asked on some Tuesday in April if an NBA playoff game was happening. It's highly suspect, and I don't like it. If you're a true sports fan, you know that that's happening. All right. Number two, he also released a freaking diss track to Mutt on a Saturday. I realize they have beef. I like both Mutt and Coleman, but I don't know. I'm not releasing freaking Saturday diss tracks against Mike Manansky on Saturday. Look, if I'm like 22, I got better shit to do. I'm just being honest, folks. I'm just being honest. I know sometimes people think the track was well received. Robbie V thought it was a very suspect move, but then I found out Mike Manansky did I haven't listened to it yet, but he did a diss track today on the show. So I don't know. It's just this feud is. Where is it going to be settled, and when is it going to be settled? Is it going to be settled in WrestleMania next year? I hope not. I hope cooler heads can prevail. And then I found out, and to put the cherry on top, Coleman's sister called Coleman and said, or a family member called Coleman and said, the Knicks have this wrapped up, and then they lost the game. You can't put that on Coleman, but people related to Coleman, they need to be better. It's just ridiculous. And then the Knicks lost last night. There was a lot of New Yorkers upset. One of them freaking, drunk dialed me and was like, Robbie V, what can you do about this? I was just like, dude, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. Shut the fuck up and go to bed. I can't fix your financial problems right now. It's just ridiculous. All right. And our third contender is Steve from Gloucester. He's had a tough week. First we had, the beef with Cinema Lord. Yeah. And then he left the KMS world. And then he's back in. And now he's left again. And then he had a beef with McFuss Daddy. About who supposedly spilled, information about what happened in Portland. And then, I thought we were at a place where, McFuss Daddy said his piece. Steve from Gloucester said his piece. And then he came out with 3 videos denying that he didn't spill the beans. If you're, it's just pretty wild. And then I'm hearing about how he's comparing, Cinema Lord to Glenn Close and, what is that movie called? Fatal Attraction. I think that's pretty wild. Glenn Close ended up getting shot by Michael Douglas, so I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's probably the lock of the week is that Cinema Lord's not going to be hiding in the shower, and Steve from Gloucester is going to pull out a Magnum and just do that. It's really just far fetched. So I don't know. So where's Robbie V thinking here? All right. So under normal circumstances, the guy who the wonk who basically brags about food stamps who lost his job. Well, he would normally be the moron of the month. But then Coleman and Steve Gloucester came in really hot, and they booted him out. It was hard. I was watching the Arsenal game in Manchester City, and I hear Coleman's doing a diss track, and I'm like, wow, this is whoa. It was something. I was like, wow, is this really the move of an MVP? A diss track against Mutt. He should have better things to do in the afternoon. So he booted. So basically, the guy who bragged about, was it the guy basically bragged that he was stealing from food banks? He's gone. He's out. Then you got Steve from Gloucester. Steve, he had a tough week. He was in the KMS world. He was going to go on the show. And then he wasn't going to go on with Cinema Lords. And then he went on the Shaddocks. And then he had about 15, goodbye tweets. And then, he said, I don't want to talk KMS. And 6 hours later, he was. And all that, it's just a flip flop. And I can't, I thought long and hard about this. And I've never given a KMS member more out of the month. But Steve from Gloucester, you're it, buddy. You gotta get it together. Coming from me, it's a tough one. I like you, but we got to get consistent. I mean, you run the consistency podcast. Gotta get consistent. I mean, you've been about as consistent as OJ's alibi lately. From Nicole and Ron Goldman, Nicole Brown, Ron Goldman murders. But whatever, we're just gonna move on. Everyone can be redeemed. But that's just about it. All right, so we're also gonna have a new segment next month. Now it's gonna be MVP of the month. Now I'm taking nominations. Now what gets you MVP of the month? Okay, look, coming to my house. I mean, well, no one knows where I live, thank God. Well, I mean, I'm sure you can figure it out. But coming to my house and giving me like 50 pounds of steak tips and a Pavetta sub does not win you freaking MVP of the month. That's the fact of the matter. It's going to take more. MVP of the month can't be bought. It has to be earned. It has to be earned through good actions. For the chats. Through KMS shows. Through making good appearances on the Kirk Minahan show and the KMS network. I mean, look, we're not freaking having, an award winner who's just going to do a KMS show about like cooking ring dings and ice cream, all right? It's got to be fucking earned, guys. I'm not taking the bullshitness needs to stop, They had a month of Morons of the Month nominations in the KMS world. Now it's time for the MVPs to rise. That's what I'm saying. All right. If you're still tuned in right now, lock of the weeks. Stacey from Madawaska put it best. Kind of been slacking on those, and I do apologize. I'm 17 over 500, and I'll take some fucking accountability. I've been slacking. It's no excuse. And so basically, Saturday and Sunday from now until further notice, that's going to be the lock of the weeks. And if I don't have one, then I'm not doing the network not doing myself and the network any favors. And I need to do 2 locks of the week, so I just can't, I won't record. So I want to record. So I'm doing the 2 locks of the week, 2 locks of the week. So one on Saturday, one on Sunday. I owe it to the viewers. That's it. All right. So the week ahead. So what do we want to happen? Bruins, get it together. I do not want to be at Alumni on Saturday night picking up pizza watching Game 7. So fucking win it on Thursday night. Celtics, get healthy. Get healthy. That's all I can say. Sox, keep doing what you're doing. So, and last but not least, I hope everyone enjoyed the show tonight. I know it ran a little longer than usual. I do personally want to say, I hope the rundown. Obviously, I appreciate. We all love the rundown and the shows. We all want you guys back. And Beyond Average Mick, we appreciate all that you've done for the network, and we want you back. Whenever I know you're going through it. I know Stephen Glass said he's going through it too, but I'd love to have you guys back when it's possible. So, but in the meantime, I want you to watch the Robbie V show. Keep track of the Robbie V locks of the week on Saturday and Sunday. They're going to be up by noon, and I truly mean that. And follow me at Robbie V Loves It and at the Robbie V Show. And make some MVP fucking moves, people, and you can be the MVP of the month. All right. Last but not least, watch Drips in the Office, the Gus Show. Also watch what's it called? Oh yeah, the Timeout Talks, and Greg Puller's on NBA podcast, and any other shows on the network that I'm forgetting. Just give it a try. All right. This is Robbie V signing off. Good night.